Okay, so welcome back to the second week's class. This is the second exercise. This is the Taily rig that we are using, Yappy's Taily rig. Um, this is pretty much a very simple exercise as compared to the last bouncing ball. The last bouncing ball was, I believe, for beginners might be a little bit challenging, but if you were able to do that, I promise you this is very simple. Since we've done the overlap from the pendulum exercise, and then um, the arcs from the last class. This is a what's the word? Is it a breeze in the park or a walk in the park or something? I can't remember. So this is the front view. Okay, front view, and this is the side. So you can see just a very simple animation like this. A very simple animation like this can give you a very good, um, very good looking piece, right? So I don't think we might be able to do this extra bounce, right? Because there's an extra bounce here. There's the tail moving up. If you notice, there's some eye blinks here. So we'll just get to the bare bones of it. I'm trying to reduce. Normally in the classes we have about 4 hours, somewhere between 6 to 8 hours in all. But obviously cannot record, and I know some of you cannot watch past the 30-minute mark. So let us get into it. I'm going to, as usual, my new file, press AX delete. All right. And now I'm going into my scene collection. I'll go to file, append, and then I want to append the Yappy ball tail rig, ball tail LTS. I will upload that to Gumroad as well. I want to append my collection called, for some of you, you may want to append the scene. But if you don't know where to go to get the rest of the scene, please just avoid that for now. Or since we've already done collections, I might as well just show you how to append the entire scene. So when you go to scene, right, scene, you're gonna append the entire scene. So you're appending the entire environment of the project. And you won't see anything here, obviously. This is one environment. If you come up here, you see scene. So just beside it, this icon, I want to click on this and then open up the second scene. So this is the file that we have right now. Uh, this is the file we have. This ball is bouncing over this rock that we've set here. So I don't think we can select this one. So that's good. All right, so we want to go straight into our rig. Let's check out what the rig does, which I've told you is the first thing you always want to do when you go into your rig. So I'll press Control Tab. I'm now in pose mode. I'll press N to open up this. So you will notice that here we have the root control, right? We also have the body controller. So this root control, I can rotate, I can move, I can scale. This body, I can move, I can rotate, I believe. I can also scale. But you can see the scale is only for the body. It's not affecting the scale of the tail. I don't know if you can see that. So I think I would rather just turn it off so we can't scale anymore. All right, what else do we want to do with this scene? With this rig rather. You can see in this rig, just like the ball, I think I pretty much just even copied the ball there. So with this ball, you can see we can rotate, right, in different axes. What also? We can squash, we can stretch. And then obviously we have some extra parts now like the tail. So for this tail, if I go into autograph and I click and I drag, over all the tails like this. Click, drag over all the tails. All right. Now I have the different parts of the tail. If I select this one here, I can rotate. Select this one here, I can rotate. Select this, I can rotate. If I select all of them all together, I can rotate. Okay. R. Okay. So this is how the tail works. And then what else can I do on this rig? So these eyes, I'm sure we are all familiar with this rig by now. G, we'll close them. What else? On this root, you come down to property, you can turn off tail, you can turn off eyes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So for starters, I think we'll just want to leave it with tails off so that it will be easy for us to animate this just like a ball. All right. So if you saw the previous animation, we did a one bounce back first, with one bounce back, and then we did a final hop forward. So I think that's mostly where we're going to stop for this class. I'm trying to keep this under 30 minutes. Let's see how 30 minutes, I don't know. Under 1 hour, so about 45 minutes should be enough for this. Okay, so I am going to come up here to 1. I'll set my keyframe on this body master, right? I'll come up here to location I, and then on frame 10, I really like working in my 10s. Apologies. So it's quite easy for me to check where what is. When I'm eventually changing my timing later on, then no problem. But for now, I just like working in my 10s. So I could say 5, but please bear with me. So I'm going to move this backward, GY. So I'm going to move a little bit faster because obviously we know how to set our poses now. GY. Okay, I'll press I. Okay, and I know I've not mentioned this, but there is a full stop. There's a record button on your timeline. So what this does is whenever you move something, it registers it as an animation. So the reason I've not brought this up is because see when I select this now, auto key, and I let me move to frame 15 and I press G, it's going to register that movement. Okay, it's going to register that movement. And let's say you go to 20 and then you mistakenly move, it's going to register that. And I know for us animators, for you guys, for you guys, it's you might just move around willy-nilly and just break your animation. So I've been trying to stay away from it, although that is the easiest way to save your keyframes. So if you want to start learning it now, please go ahead. But just know that please watch your timeline so that when you're moving, it's affecting your timeline. If I move in this on this frame 10, we already have a keyframe, it's going to override that keyframe. So now we're going to have 1 and then this. You can see that. So it's really powerful. And with that power comes the great potential to make mistakes. So please be careful. I won't use this so that it won't confuse you guys. But eventually I would obviously, right? Because this makes your life a whole lot easier. So 1, 10, so this is one thing I'm going to introduce now. So let's just say what's the next position we want to have? We want to have up here, right? On 20. So 0, 10, and 20, we want to bring it up. G, right? Up here. Let's say up here is fine. And then I press I. And then on 30, sorry, this was not on 20. I want to move it to 20, please. And then on 30, I want to move it here. I'm giving it enough space for the tail. I. So right now what we have is this back up. So you can see Right now, we've not even changed the interpolation, so that's why it's literally jumping out in our face. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that when it comes here, it stays on this frame for like a couple of minutes before jumping up. Okay, so I'm going to take all of these keyframes, 20 and 30. I'm going to move it back such that we have 0, 10, 20. On frame 20, I'm going to copy frame 10. I'll select it, Control C, Control V. So now I'm playing this. So you can see that, all right? So I don't like seeing all of this. So please, A, select all your keyframes, T, and change it to constant. All right, constant. Okay, so now all we can see are our keyframes. But please, animation is mostly about is largely about rhythm as well, rhythm. So all the cartoonish sounds you made or you heard when Tom and Jerry was playing, all the bloop, blap, all those things matter. All right, so in here as well. So let me reduce this play range. Let me make it 60. Bloop, blap, blap, bloop, blap. Right. So when you can start feeling the rhythm in what you're doing. Yes, you know that because I hope you know even your body movement, there's a rhythm to it. All right. Bap, bloop, bap. Okay. So now in between my keyframes, um, um, this, 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 this. So now I'm going to come in here on frame 5. In fact, first of all, let's start tracking our arcs since you already know how to do that. I'll select this, right click, calculate motion path, calculate for you to show okay, depending on your Blender version. So let's say on frame 5 now I want to get my middle, I want to get my jump. So I'll press Shift E to get my middle first, and then I'll move up GZ. I'll press I. Okay, now I have my keyframe here. I'll update. Okay, so we have this, this simple. This is a very simple animation. Jump, then that. Jump, then that. Okay, so in between on 25, I want to start making my arc. Shift E, sorry, Shift E. This is my middle. I want to come out a little bit in this way and favor my up position and press I. If I update my path, this is it. Then I'm going to do it for my 35 as well. Shift E. And then I'm going to move out G. And then I press I. Let me update my path. Okay. So now we see we're having, just like that, we have the groundwork for a very good animation. Okay. Um, this and this, this, and this. Very good. So we can move on to the next stage. So if I open this up and I'll change this to my dope sheets, change my dope sheet to my action editor. Why? So that I can call this my blockhouse one. All right. So all of this is so that by the time we go further in time, we start making adjustments and you don't like what you're seeing, you can always come back to the lower level and work your way up again. So I will save this as a fake user and then move on to the next one. Let me call this 2. So what are we going to do here now? I believe we don't have much to do besides making our squash and stretch. So we can actually move into spline. Let me see this. Yeah, so we can actually just call this spline. I think I want to move past the spline. Spline 1, right? I'll save this. So right now we have the block out and then we have the spline. Don't worry about the camera animation. So this line one, obviously when we are splining, we want to right click. Sorry, we want to change our interpolation to the actual spline. That's the bezier. Okay, and then I want to update. All right. It seems this arc is not really. It's not giving me what I want. So let me go into my graph editor. You can actually change the position here yourself, like this G. All right, but you will know that this is Z. So you know that by the time you do it in your graph editor, you don't need to set keyframe again. You don't need to update motion path. Or rather, all you need to do is just update motion path. Okay, this is my up axis. So if I do GY, it's raising it. So I think I want to do it for the two keyframes here. GY, raise. Let me update my path. Yeah. And then on Y, full stop. That's how. Okay. On Y, maybe I want to bring this one. Sorry, I want to bring this one back. Update. And then bring this one inward, rather downward. And then update. Okay. So this is more of our arc. This. Okay. So now let's deal with our timing. Because it seems so the first thing we want to do is to change this land. Let's change this land to a vector, V vector. Okay. First thing. So also the land on 10. Let's make both of them vectors. Okay. So what happens if I adjust my timing for everything? So now let me unhide all of this. So on 20 is fine. We could decide to scale all of it from here. Okay, I'm not a fan of that because Blender kind of there's a snapping there's a technique of snapping that sometimes it snaps in between keyframes, although it has been set to frames by default, but sometimes it doesn't do it uniformly. But for now, I think our animation is so simple that we can probably get away with it. So let me see how we can land on 45. So if I update, let's see. Okay. So if you didn't know what I did, this is my keyframe. This is where my jump starts from 20, right? 20, 21, right? So 20 is where my jump starts. I selected everything, and then I'm going to scale it from where this 20 is, S. So right now, the last frame is on 40. If I scale it, I want to scale it in such a way that it ends on 45. So now this is it, this, this. And so just like what we did in the previous class, I want to start color coding my lands. So this first one, where is on the floor, R, extreme, here, all of this R extreme, this land, R extreme. Okay. Let's see if I do this instead. I update. Yeah, we can always play with this. So now let's just go into our squash and stretch quickly. So on frame 10, so we can do the ones before, but let's deal with this first. So in between these two jumps, we can easily fix this height offering the offering file. Let's see the arc for this land. Okay, so we are easing into the jump, scaling. Yes, not bad. Let's see what's happening on our Y. Okay, it's moving. X update. Yes, this may be fine, or I could still want to bring it up a little bit. Update. I could actually even raise this Z up. Okay, GZ, GY, raise it up a little. Update. So now we have this, that. All right, so it's looking very bland now because we don't have an extra. I mean, this backward movement will serve as an anticipation, but we also want to start squashing. So here on frame 10, I'm going to set my keyframe I. Nothing is happening here. Where's the land? 20. By 20, we want to squash and then move in the direction of the jump. I press I. Okay, so we have this. You can see that, right? And then on 33, I want to reset this Alt G, no squash and stretch. Sorry. So this, okay. And then on 45, I want to do a I want to do a squash. Then I press I. Okay, obviously, because when it's landing, it's squashing, right? Then this squash. So obviously by 21, we should start having a stretch because that's what our principle tells us. Okay, so I will stretch in the, I will stretch in the direction of my arc, press I, and then I don't want, by this point in time, I want to be done with my stretching. So I'll press Alt G to reset, and I'll press I. So now we have a stretch. Not bad, not bad. And then here, I press Alt G again to reset this. Press I. And then just before we land, I want to stretch in the direction of my jump. Press I. So this is it. Okay. Okay, so we can definitely start trying to fix our graphs. What could possibly be wrong with um, our graph? With our poses, let's see. This does what? Let's see if I delete this and I update my path. Okay, so that could have been a problem. But GY, if I try to smoothen this and I update this, let me see. Um, so even the Z is off in a way. full stop, right? So like the last class, I said there's sometimes where you might want to do away with the extra. So now that you know what the shape should look like, I've not actually saved this. I'll call this YAPI lesson 2B. Okay. So now it's looking better. Okay. Um my cursor is tweaking out. I don't know why. Okay. Um so if you notice here on 45 we have this squash, and then we stretch just before squash. On 47, let's say we want to reset this, or G first. And then I want to raise it up a little bit, G, Z, right? Or in fact, maybe I want to move it forward like this. I press I. Okay, so we are coming from where we are coming from, landing, stretching the opposite direction, and then resetting, or G, I. Okay, so you can see that stretch, land. Okay, so we might actually want to, because we are having a lot of straight movement here. In this place that we did our stretch, this is fine, right? We might want to still have some movement, some rotation. So if I press G in this, I'm not stretching as much, but I am rotating in the direction of the object, so that in the direction of the arc. So we have this. Let's see. It may have caused some issues on our graph, because I'm noticing there's a so let me just undo this for now first, and I will update. Sorry, let me clear. I'll update for just the middle. Calculate. Now to see for this. Let's play. So it's stretching. So squash, stretching, normal, normal, stretching, landing. Okay, so we can just work with this. So this explosiveness may work, but I don't think I want it. So I am going to go into the graph. Since we made everything vectors, I can select this part and just give it some ease. Let me see, updates. If I, let's see. So you can see with tiny movements we are making, tiny edits we are making on our graph editor. Yes, this is fine. So if you don't like this, we might still want to select everything and give it a bigger jump. So let's say I know that this is my stretch, so I'm going to leave it this way. But G or 21, I'll press G. Or I could even scale them. S. Let me scale. Let me scale. Let me see if I can do that. So right now it's ending on 49. So if I scale it in a way where we have 55, what happens? Okay. So the thing is, when you update, it updates for all the bonds that are selected. So sorry, I'll clear and select the bond I want to calculate. Okay, so this is what we have. Um, so I think I want to start adjusting my graphs for my squash and stretch. So let's see the X, this is the Y. So if I delete these two keyframes, I have seen the shape already, right? I can delete them. Okay, maybe I don't want to do that. If I move this, let's see. Let's do this. How can if I scale, will I still get this shape? Sorry, G. Right, I'm trying to get this object to move back. Same for this. If I rotate this, um, okay. So you can obviously spend more time trying to, this is 32 minutes already. You can spend more time trying to refine this arc. Let's see if when I update. Okay, this may be better. There's something with the offset in the timing and spacing for our Y, but generally it is not bad. Let's move on to the next thing. Um, so the next thing I would just say is the tail. That's the next important thing. I select this root, come to item here, and then scroll down to properties and increase my tail now, as usual. Okay, so let's say we are in our dope sheet. I told you the shortcut to dope sheet is in your any timeline or graph editor. You press Control Tab, you can go into your graph editor or your dope sheet. You know your dope sheet is where your action editor is. All right, so we've called this spline 1. So let us duplicate this, call it spline 2. Spline 2, this. All right, so let's start just doing this. The Well, actually, we didn't do any squash and stretch for. Let me delete this spline. Um, so let me go back to my spline 1 first. Spline 1, we didn't do any squash and stretch for this, although it was going to be very minimal either ways, but 0 keyframe I, 10, it's fine. We'll address this later. So we have this, okay. So on 5, we don't want any stretch. Before we land, we want some stretch in the direction of our arc. I, okay. So we have this, and actually on frame 10, we want to have some squash. Okay, some squash. Just I. But we know that we still have some squash down here. So let's say we probably want to just have some G up. We may have to delete this either ways, but let's see. So yes, it's too janky. So um I will just undo what we have on 10. We don't need the squash on 10. So we have stretch, normal. And if you check the graph editor, something is definitely going on in the graph editor for this position. So we have, okay, I'll just move this. So what is happening actually? Okay, I think we made 10 a vector, right? So 9, 10. Did we make 10 a vector? I don't think so. So on Y location, let me move this GY X a little. Trying to see where we have, okay, we have keyframes on where for Z. You can just move this to, yeah, okay. So on 10, let's say I rotate this upward a little bit. You can see I'm literally just moving around in my graph editor just to fine tune dates. Okay, GY. So I'm reducing some of the effects, some of the values that we changed here. So I'll clear my path and then calculate again. So let's see what's happening now. For this, okay, so if you can't tell, is you will have to spend a lot of time. I don't want us to spend a lot of time on this YouTube video, but when you're working, you go back and forth trying to check, unless you are fine with making mediocre work, which I hope I don't see in class. If you're fine with mediocre work, right, please spend every minute spent on making your animation better is worth it. At least if you're 80% there, that's fine. You know, there's a marginal. Don't worry, I won't sidetrack this class. So um we can check here. Let's just say this works for now. And then here on frame 20, we've squashed, stretched. So there's something where you could scale, rotate. So it's because this is happening on the very next frame. So this is happening on the very next frame. That's why it is janky. Let me see. Okay, so let's just say this works. Find one. Let's see the animation. Okay, so now we are back here in, we've gotten our spline ready. We want to start animating the tail. Let me just do for the first bone. So I'll come here, press I. On 10, I'll come here, press I again. So on 20, I know that I want to rotate this up. Okay, up like this. Press I. I know that now I want to, on 22, I want to start rotating it downwards. Okay, I'll press I. And then somewhere like here, probably around 30, I want to rotate it down even more. So that it's going to look like the tail is what is propelling the body to jump. So this is what we have right now. Okay, we have this. So probably even on 20, I want to rotate it even more. I press I. So right now I'm just dealing with the tailbone master. So this flapping, flapping, let's say on 43, I want to rotate it back upward like this. Maybe not so much here. I. And then just before we land, I want to rotate it even more. I. Okay. Back. Or maybe 51, Alt R to reset the rotation. Okay. Then I'll press I. So right now, this is how many keyframes you have. Nothing is happening on the 1 to 10. So I believe I rotated 49. So the other ones are going to rotate like this. So I have no problem with this. So yes, this is our tail. So let's say in here, I want to just do some tiny, let's say I rotate this one up. When we are going up, I want to rotate down. Press I. And then when we are coming back down, I want to rotate up a little. Press I. So it might clash with this 10. Okay, there's no problem. So this is my keyframes right now. So here, I'm rotating it downward. So while this body is jumping up, coming to the back, I'm rotating it downward. And then when it's coming down, I've started rotating it upward slightly. And then it's landing on default, on neutral. And then when we are going up, we are loading up for that tail to come up. Then when it bounces down, the object is leaving. Okay. And then lands. That. All right. So this, that, this, that. Okay. So now that we've done this, let's see our graph editor. A. Now press A and full stop. We are only working in our X Euler rotation. So A, if there's anything we want to tweak, this might be a good time to tweak this because when we copy, so we just want to get smoother arcs. Now that we know the shape, let's see if this works. So it was lower before. This. So no, I don't think I want to change anything down here. Probably even rotate it more. So we have this. Okay, this land. So up here, what does this do? Okay, if I do GY, I can start raising it up a little bit. And then on 49, I could RS, if I rotate. Okay, so I'm just trying to give this a smoother. Very good. I think I'm fine with what we have right now. So all I simply need to do is to select all these keyframes, A, Control C, and then on this last keyframe, on the next one, tailbone, I set my keyframe first, I, and then I press Control V to paste. So I'm going to offset it by 1, G, 1. Okay. I'll do the same thing for this next tailbone, I, and I'll paste it G, Control V, and then I press G2, or I can just move it by 1, 2. So all I'm doing now is I am, so you start seeing how each one is obviously we need to, okay, so one of these turns was, so this was a lot. So we might need to start fixing them. But let's finish everything. So we've moved this one by G2. So I'll come here, press I, and then paste Control V, and then move it G3. All right, no problems. We'll fix them. I for rotation again, Control V to paste. Now G4. Okay, so I'm literally I'm offsetting. Let me do the last one. I, Control V, G5. So if I select all the tailbones now, all that is happening is this. Sorry, let this thing load up. OBS is taking a toll on my recording. So now we are making all these keyframes and we are offsetting them by 1. That's literally all we've done. So let's see the the wonders we've done on our tail. Okay, so it's not as bad as I thought. All right. So we just know that in here, this part is too much. So you can see here in our graph editor, this part. So if I click and drag this way, I can move it down, GY. So you can see that here. So you may want to make changes to one bit or just changes to everything. For now, since we are saving time, so even the lower bit too is extreme. GY a little, this, and then the lower bits as well. GY, okay. So that we don't have, yes. And then for here as well, we want to take all these keyframes, move them down, G, Y. And then before we land, I want to take all these keyframes, GY. Okay, so I think we've pretty much solved it, right? So that's our animation. Every other thing you want to do is going to be to um fine tune these animations. which you don't have the luxury of doing here on YouTube. So just take some more time, refine your animations. I've obviously showed you how to render your viewports in the first class, so please go through that. I don't want to keep saying the same things. Um, what else can we want? We might want to add some tiny details. So let's say on this jump, before we let's say on frame 20, we want to close our eyes before we jump. So let's say on 17, I make my keyframe I. 20, I shut my eyes G and move it down. I. Okay, so we've shut our eyes. Then the eyes are going to remain shut for a couple of frames. Ctrl C. It's going to be shut for 2 frames before we move them up again. G. Right, I. So now we've closed our eyes and then okay, now they are open. We also want to shut the eyes before they land. So as it's making contact with the floor, we want to do one tiny blink. So here, 49, let's say on 49, we are preparing for our land. So I make my keyframe here again, I. And then on 50, actually, I may want to move this keyframe a little bit forward. So 48, open, 50, we shut G, press I. And then on 52, we still remain shut. And then back on 54, I want to move it back up. Or I can just copy this keyframe from here. Control C, Control V. Okay, so you can see that tiny blink. Okay, so this is pretty much how you can get your ball tail bounce in actually 1 hour. What's the time? This is 56 minutes. So yeah, we did that under an hour or within an hour. So let me just change my viewport color, viewports, change my sky. Okay. So with this, you can make your renders. Okay, with this, you can make your viewport renders, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have done. All right then. Have a good one. Until then, keep practicing.